At all times, the number one thing that I'm looking for in a client project that comes to me is that it's going to promise to let me come at it from a place of strength. Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Tom Froese. I'm an illustrator in Vancouver, and this is my vidcast where I talk about my experiences with illustration. I try and share them with you to offer you some insight and inspiration and motivation as you develop your own illustration careers. So welcome to the channel. Last week I talked a little bit about the future of this channel and where I want to take it. And I was just really saying there's basically two paths. One is I just keep recording these kind of low production value off the cuff videos, or I kind of level up somehow and make them even more produced and more on par with some of the better YouTube channels out there. Now, for me right now, that feels just out of reach. It is something that I'm interested in exploring in the future, but for now I'm happy that you guys are sending me positive feedback about just these more casual off-the-cuff videos. I just want to come here and share a little bit about what's going on and hopefully give you guys some creative inspiration and motivation and insights, the kind of things that I wish I had as I was learning to be an illustrator, the kind of questions answered that I wish I had answered, and stuff like that. So thanks guys so much for your feedback, for your likes. As always, if you like these videos, if you're enjoying this channel, please subscribe. That's the only way really that I know people are watching and enjoying and coming back to see more of this content. So last week I mentioned I was working for a dream client that I'll never be able to tell anyone about. I'll never get to share the work in my portfolio, and that was just part of their contract. And one of you guys asked why a company might have such a stipulation. If you want to hear my thoughts about the topic in general of working for a client in such circumstances, under such an agreement, you can watch the last video. But to just answer this question, why would a company disallow you or prohibit you from sharing or associating yourself with their brand? I think today is largely because there's so much controversy. It's cancel culture, and a big company can avoid controversy by not being associated with artists that might end up screwing up somehow in the public sphere. And I'm not sure that I'm necessarily at risk for that kind of controversy, but they don't know that. They don't know me very well. So I do think there is an element of just protecting their brand from controversy. I also think that there are just some brands that are prima donnas. They just don't want to share the spotlight with artists unless it's in a very controlled way. So some companies will team up with a celebrity artist, and then they probably have some very specific goal, and that artist all kind of naturally and already aligns with a part of their brand that they, so basically they're leveraging the brand of the celebrity artist to bolster their own brand, their own story, their own narrative about themselves. But in general, I don't think my narrative necessarily is the narrative of this company I'm working for, and they're very protective of that. I'm sure, I'm just guessing, I haven't talked to them about it, to be honest. But in a future video, once this project is done and it's not so current, I will share actually how or why I think it's actually probably for the better that I'm not able to associate myself with this brand. And that may sound surprising because normally speaking, I say no to projects that don't let me put my name on my work because I feel like that's kind of disrespectful to the artist, and it shows a lack of confidence. But I'll just say it might be for the better, and I'll explain why in a future video once the dust is settled on this project. But I'm having fun. It's a good project, great team, and I'm really excited and lucky to be working on it. So next thing I wanted to talk about is a question that came in from a video that I published way back last May of 2018, where I talked about defending your style against client feedback. So in that video, I just described a situation where I was working with a client on some creative work, some illustration, and then they were asking me, they're pushing back on things that are kind of fundamental to my style, the way I approach how I draw my figures. And it's like, you know, down to how I draw noses and feet and hands and stuff like that. And I'm like, have you not seen my work? You know, like, you're asking me to make my work look not like that, which is not the product I'm offering. Of course, there are times to push yourself and challenge yourself and not lock yourself into paradigms. And I've been doing a lot of that this year and breaking out of my own style paradigms. And I highly recommend doing that when you want to. But that kind of conversation should happen before a project begins. Otherwise, you have no idea what kind of direction you're going to get from the client, and they might not even like any of your work, and they're just hiring you as a wrist, as some kind of a stylist or someone who knows how to use Photoshop better than they do, and you don't want to get into that. And that's why it's important, once you have developed a style that you're confident about, and it's your place of confidence, and it's your happy place and your comfort zone, then you should be able to expect clients to come to you for that, and not for emulating another artist's style, for instance, or catering to just creative whims of an art director or even a CEO. Yeah, in the past, working for clients who have not understood who I am as an illustrator with my creative voice, and they have not hired me for that, it's been very painful to go through those projects and just finish them and not just totally lose my mind or feel totally untrusted or like kind of like a failure. You know, you go through these feelings when people are questioning your creative decisions. You start feeling like doubtful of your own abilities. That's just a natural part of our experience as illustrators. I think we all go through projects where our confidence is tested, where we're not trusted, and where we don't even believe in ourselves anymore because our own creative decisions and intuitions are being challenged in ways we weren't expecting. So it's just part of it, but in the trajectory of a career of an illustrator, I think you get less and less and less of those because you become more and more confident in who you are. You're able to communicate that to clients better. More people know about you, so they're more likely to come to you for what you do versus come to you because, you know, you're local or they found you in a Google search or something like that. At the beginning of your creative career, of course, though, you're not going to have as much confidence in your style, and you're not going to know what kind of clients are coming to you for you anyway. And the chances are, if you're a beginning illustrator, very few people are coming to you for your style. Very few people are coming to you for something that you do particularly well and uniquely. And what I mean is your first clients, your first projects are more likely to be friends of friends, maybe someone who is within your social circle. They have a business and they know that you're creative, and so you're the first person they think of, and that's amazing. So if anyone is coming to you for a creative project, an illustration project, and paying you for it as a beginning or early career illustrator, take the job and don't say no, as a rule. But as you build experience doing that, you're going to find out what you're good at and what you're not good at. You're going to find out what you like and what you don't like. You're going to find out what kind of clients are interesting to you or not interesting you. You'll even get a feeling for the kind of tone of different industries. Like what is it like to work for the real estate industry versus the automotive industry, or what's it like working for a lifestyle magazine versus a small trade publication. That experience can only come through trial and error and by saying yes to more jobs and being open to learning in your early career. And then a shift happens along the way. Your boundaries for what you do and who you are become clearer. And it also comes clearer through your public-facing persona, your web page, your Instagram account today. So people they're enabled by that to see your own creative voice too, and see your product offering, as it were, your brand, and kind of come to you actually for what you do. Now, there still is, as you go along, as you grow your career, the need to screen your clients, because clients aren't self-screening. You're still going to get people who come to kick the tires, and they're not the kind of people you want to work for anymore, or you just kind of get a sense like, nope, this one's going to be trouble. So I can't speak to what you would want to do and what your red flags are, but I can speak to things that I go by when I'm determining whether a project is worth taking on or something I should say no to. So the first thing I look for when an email comes in is I just generally can tell what kind of company it is, whether this project is going to be direct with a client, like business to business, or it's art directed. It's for a magazine through an art director, or through an ad agency. And I favor projects that come through ad agencies, or that are otherwise art directed, such as someone at a magazine. What I want to avoid is working directly with a client, because when I'm in a scenario when I'm working with an art director, they have a whole team. They have a production department who takes care of all the technical stuff, conversions to CMYK, stuff that I only do if I really have to. They have account managers, people who take care of the money conversation. I don't usually have that conversation directly with an art director. And then of course you speak the same language as that art director. You're both kind of creative people. You're able to focus on the creative problem. And so you're spending the time only on the creative problem. Whereas if you're working directly with a client, directly with the boss or whatever, you end up also having to do the money talk. You also have to often end up doing some design, your own production for more technical stuff. You're wearing more hats, but you're still getting paid the same, if not less. Dollar for hour, you're making less when you're wearing more hats and working direct with the client versus through an agency. So I prefer to work indirectly for a client through their art direction, through their art department, basically. So that's one thing that I look for. Another thing is just like in the brief, are they really asking me to do something that I want to do? Are they really asking me to work on something that I'm good at, that I would like to do? Is it clear from their brief that they understand who they're asking to work for them? And that sounds super arrogant, but what I mean is, like, it's just like if you're a chef at a high-end Chinese restaurant, and then someone's asking you to make hamburgers. Don't they know that you're a chef for this high-end restaurant? And it's the same for me. So if someone comes to me to do really vector-based infographics, there's nothing like that in my portfolio anywhere. So I can right away just get a sense that these people actually, there's lots of levels here, but they really haven't looked at what I'm offering. They haven't looked in my shop and seen what's on the shelves. That's just a quick sign that, you can always try and make the best of these situations and talk them into your vision, and then have a really great project. That's happened a few times. But if you're pushed for time and you're getting work that does cater to more of your interests, if you're getting jobs that allow you to work from your confidence zone, then you can confidently say no to a project that doesn't really seem to need your specific strengths. Another red flag that I'll look for is and this kind of is similar to what I was just saying, if the brief comes along with other people's illustrations as part of the brief, it's a bit of a red flag for me, because it means that they have some preconceived notion of style and approach, or even of concept, that I haven't been a part of. And so already, just by virtue of them having seen and referenced other illustrators' work, I have a lot of work to do to undo that in their minds, and even in my minds, to sort of wash it clean from our memory, so we can start from a place where I can come at the problem in my own way. As creatives, it is very important that we are able to come at a problem in the way we are most comfortable with, not in terms of it being hard or easy, but every artist has a very specific way of solving visual problems, and we become more and more aware of how we do that as we gain experience. And so for me, the way I start a project, the way I do my research, the way I build that into my first sketches, the way I iterate those first sketches, those first concepts, and how I choose which ones to show to the client, all of that is vital to the success of the project and to later making that a fleshed out piece of art. Because I only end up showing my client sketches and concepts, ideas that promise to work in a final stage. And again, this has taken years of being an illustrator, working with clients to know and feel and to predict. But now, today, if I get a brief from someone and it's like kind of indicating that they want me to work in a style that's not mine, or they come to me even with a sketch that they've already made that they just want me to, somehow style up and finesse and flesh out. There's so much work involved in undoing those preconceived notions that it's usually not worth it, and often a losing battle. And so in such a case, I don't always say no to those kinds of jobs. Sometimes I say yes because there's something about that client that I still like, and I feel like if I just put up with this, there's going to be something down the road, or perhaps I'm just being paid a lot for it. In such cases, maybe I'll make that compromise. In such cases, it can be, not always, it can be a real struggle creatively, and it can be really frustrating. At all times, the number one thing that I'm looking for in a client project that comes to me is that it's going to promise to let me come at it from a place of strength. I want to be hired to do my best and to give it my best, and I know where that best comes from, and I know what tools I have, I know what experience and perspective I want to bring to projects. And if I'm not allowed to do that, the project starts with my hands tied behind my back, and it can be very frustrating. There are times we have to take jobs that we're not super happy with, and most jobs, 99% of jobs, are a compromise in some way or another. But it is really important to be confident as creatives and to be able to work from a place that we feel good. So if you're a growing illustrator and you want to sort of get to that point, first of all, be patient. It does take a lot of time, and there's going to be so many jobs that are frustrating and hair pulling, and just keep at it and you'll get better at it. But if you want to look for jobs that will help you kind of get to that point, I think working with art directors is something you really want to look for. So keep this in mind. When you get an illustration project with an art director at a magazine, or an art director at an ad agency, if you're lucky enough to work for an ad project, you guys are both creatives, and you have to trust the art director as much as they're trusting you to help them produce something for their important client. I have never grown as much as an illustrator as when I worked with illustrators who really challenged me and pushed me out of my comfort zone and asked me to do things that I in the moment hated. But looking back, it's way better to get, to collaborate creatively with a fellow creative than it is to receive art direction from a well-meaning boss or a marketing department that doesn't really see things from a more creative vision. They see things only in terms of numbers and risk and stuff like that. So when you're developing and honing your style and your voice and trying to figure out what kind of clients are the kind of clients you love working with, your dream clients, embrace those times when you get to work with an art director. And don't be intimidated by an art director. Don't be totally subservient. You're their equal, but accept their art direction in a way that you might not easily accept art direction from other people. So really, those are just some thoughts on how to screen clients. There's lots of subtleties, of course, in there that I probably didn't touch on, but if this creates more questions for you guys, if it got your wheels spinning, please let me know in the comments what your questions are. I love when you guys ask me questions, and I look forward to answering more in the future. All right, guys, I think that's it. I got some work to do. I've got a run to do today. I guess I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much for your questions and comments and all that. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel. Let me know you guys are loving this content. I look forward to making more. Keep making great work and keep asking great questions.